There is a certain kind of death that goes unnoticed. Not the loud final kind, but the slow erosion, a ghosting of the self, in service of everyone else's needs. You don't remember when it started. Maybe it was the moment you said yes when your body screamed no. Maybe it was the smile you wore like armor, even as your soul fractured quietly behind your eyes. You became the sun for everyone, burning at both ends, hoping that warmth would buy you love. But no one sees the sun. Not really. They only notice when it disappears. You were always reachable, always ready, always soft. And so, you vanished. Because what is always available becomes invisible. This is the tragedy of the kind one. They become the background music to other people's chaos, the holding space for other people's storms. You became a lighthouse, but no one ever asked if the light was tired. And in the still of night, when everyone sleeps in the comfort of your sacrifices, you lie awake, wondering if anyone ever truly saw you, or just the version of you they needed. Every time you say yes to someone else, you are silently whispering no to yourself. But no one taught you that kindness could be a kind of suicide. They praised you for being dependable, for being the one who always shows up, even as your soul crawled deeper into the dark. People pleasers bleed energy in invisible ways. Their exhaustion isn't dramatic. It's subtle, sacred, and ignored. It's in the text you answer at 1 a.m. The favor you say sure to while swallowing resentment. The smile you force when your spirit is breaking in the corner of the room. You are a leaking faucet of compassion, dripping into bottomless cups that never stop asking for more. And it costs more than sleep. It costs clarity, self-respect, peace. You begin to lose the voice that once belonged to you, until your life becomes a reflection of other people's expectations, and your soul, a room with the lights off. Burnout isn't just physical. It's spiritual. It's when the soul becomes tired of being touched without being seen. But here's the quiet truth no one tells you. Your light doesn't owe itself to everyone. And not everyone is worthy of access to your fire. We are taught to be endlessly available, to answer quickly, to smile always, to be there, at the cost of being here. But what is abundant is often taken for granted. And what is rare is revered. Even water loses its sanctity when it pours without end. There is a dark truth buried in human nature. We do not value what is always within reach. We do not bow to the familiar. Mystique is a currency, and constant presence is poverty. You gave yourself like air, essential, invisible, and unthanked. But scarcity is what forges desire. The more you pull away, the more they want you near. The more silent you become, the louder they listen. People crave mystery like fire in winter. Yet you, in your boundless giving, stripped yourself of every shadow, until nothing sacred remained. Nietzsche once said, "The individual has always had to struggle, to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. To be available always is to be devoured. But when you withdraw, not out of cruelty, but out of reclamation, you become something else. Not a servant, but a sovereign. You are surrounded, and still, you feel alone. Every ping, every like, every dopamine-drenched notification masquerades as connection. But behind the screens and the endless scrolling, a vast hollowness hums. We are more reachable than ever, and yet, more unseen than we've ever been. People know your updates, your playlists, your filtered smiles. But not your sorrow, not your silence, not the places where your soul bleeds quietly. This is not intimacy. It is surveillance. We've mistaken proximity for presence, response time for resonance. And in this world of constant reach, you've made yourself reachable at all hours, out of fear that silence means being forgotten, out of fear that disappearing means death. But this is the trap. You give and give and give, until you are a signal with no source, a broadcast with no heartbeat. Carl Jung once wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you." You were never seen, only scanned. And in the noise of it all, you forgot the sound of your own voice. True connection begins, not with constant interaction, but with sacred withdrawal. There is a silence that doesn't empty you, it remakes you. When you step away from the noise, from the constant buzzing of need and performance, you begin to hear the whisper of something ancient. Yourself. The self buried beneath all the masks you wore to keep others comfortable. The self that wasn't shaped by feedback loops, or applause, or guilt. Solitude is not loneliness. It is sanctuary. In solitude, the mirrors are honest. There is no one left to impress. No role to play. No need to bend. You meet the parts of yourself you had abandoned. The bold. The wild. The sacred. Seneca once said, "If you are everywhere, you are nowhere." To reclaim your power, you must become less everywhere and more within. Solitude is the forge of self-respect. It is where you learn to sit with the ache and not rush to fix it. It is the holy ground where your worth is no longer negotiated in the currency of others' comfort. In stillness, you remember, you are not just a reaction to the world. You are a world. To disappear a little is to become visible again. There is a kind of power in pulling back, not to punish, but to preserve. Boundaries are not walls. They are the doors through which only the worthy may pass. You've been taught that to love is to be open, to always be reachable, soft, selfless. But that was a lie, a myth sold to break the wildness in you. True mystique begins when you no longer explain your absence, when you stop offering every piece of your soul like it were free samples on a tray. Detachment is a ritual, a severing of codependent cords, a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of too much. You do not owe everyone access to your fire, and those who demand it, they are afraid of your silence, because silence cannot be controlled. Gurdjieff taught, begin with the hardest, withdraw your attention. Withdraw your energy, your approval, your dependence on being needed. Let them feel your absence. Let them sit in the space where you once stood like a pillar. The mystique grows not from pretending, but from protecting the parts of you that should never have been offered so cheaply. Beneath the kindness, beneath the smile stitched from survival, there is something darker, hungrier, and holy. You buried it long ago, because someone told you that anger was ugly, that wanting was wrong, that silence was safer than truth. But Carl Jung warned us, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Shadow work is not about becoming better. It's about becoming whole. It is staring into the mirror and seeing, not just the light you've curated, but the shadow you've denied. The rage that wanted to scream no. The pride that wanted to be adored. The wildness that wanted freedom, not permission. People-pleasing is a wound with good manners. It says yes while dying inside. It says I don't mind while the soul trembles. It smiles through the betrayal, until the betrayal becomes the self. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your inheritance. It holds the keys to your lost voice, your denied desires, your birthright to choose yourself. To do shadow work is to pick up the pieces of the self you gave away in exchange for belonging, and to realize you were never meant to belong to them. You were meant to return to you. There is a kind of retreat that is not escape, but elevation. The world worships motion. More, faster, louder. But the soul craves the hush. There comes a moment when the only cure is absence. You do not announce it. You simply vanish. Not to run, but to remember. To withdraw is to sanctify your energy again. To reclaim your inner temple from the hands that touched it without reverence. Gurdjieff spoke of intentional suffering, the sacred pain of inner transformation. To sit in stillness when the world begs for your performance. To keep your fire inward when the masses gather, begging for light. This is not selfish. It is sacred. The spirit was never meant to be diluted by demand. It is in retreat that you become whole. You shed the selves you wore for approval. You become elemental, a storm gathering in the mountains, A silence that bends time. You begin to feel your pulse again. Not in anxiety, but in alignment. And as the world shouts louder, you grow quieter, stronger, untouchable. In your absence, you become presence itself. There is a silence that doesn't whisper, it commands. Distance, when chosen consciously, does not weaken connection. It clarifies it. It filters the noise from the real. You were told to be close, to be responsive, to be warm. But magnets don't cling. They pull. And the stronger the field, the fewer words are needed. There is a difference between being seen and being consumed, between being loved and being used. In silence, you become an echo. People chase through their own hollowness. In distance, you become a mirror, revealing who they are without your energy. You don't need to beg to be heard. You need only to become so grounded, so self-possessed, that your presence vibrates even in your absence. Seneca wrote, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you are capable of improving. But never be a servant to validation. There is a magnetic force in those who are comfortable in their own solitude, who don't explain, chase, or beg. Their silence speaks. Their absence stings. Not because they are cruel, but because they are rare. And we always feel the loss of what we once thought was always there. To choose yourself is to let something die. Not loudly, not violently, but beautifully, like autumn shedding leaves. With quiet conviction, you let the need to be needed fall from your hands. You grieve it. You burn its altar. You whisper goodbye to the person you became, just to be loved. Because love that demands your disappearance was never love, only consumption. The final awakening is not loud. It happens alone. When you realize you are enough, without applause, without access, without saving everyone but yourself, you become the wolf that leaves the pack not to escape, but to remember the wildness in its bones. You disappear, not because you are broken, but because you are building something sacred, where no one else can see it. And in your silence, you become legend. They will speak of you in quiet rooms, wondering why your absence echoes louder than your presence ever did. Let them wonder. Let them ache. You are not a mirror for others anymore. You are fire. You are distance. You are the storm they never saw coming. To choose yourself is to be reborn, even if the world no longer recognizes you. So if this reached you in the quiet hour, when the world is asleep, but your soul is loud, then maybe, just maybe, you were meant to hear this. You're not weak for being tired. You're not wrong for wanting distance. And you're not broken for finally choosing yourself. Let them call you cold. Let them say you've changed. They were never meant to carry the weight of your becoming. Remember, you are not here to be understood. You are here to be real. So vanish, rebuild, return, or don't. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is to walk away without explaining a damn thing. This isn't the end. It's just another quiet beginning. Until next time, stay unseen, stay sovereign, and most of all, stay sacred.